So we're going to look at doing a pre-ride check of your bike. It's really good just to make sure your front wheel isn't going to fall out in that first drop off, but also it's good for keeping an eye on sort of maintenance schedule of your bike almost. You'll know if something's on the way out or if something needs doing soon. So it's called the M check. It's dead easy to remember then. Shape of an M on the bike, starting off down at the front wheel. Whatever's keeping that front wheel in is nice and tight. I've got bolts, so I could check those with Allen key. If you've got a quick release, definitely check that by hand. I've seen them come out occasionally, so you don't want that. Whilst I'm here, I'm going to check out the tyre, so tyre pressure, nice and firm. Also, tyre condition. Mine's actually, it's getting pretty worn now, so I know that I will want to think about replacing that relatively soon. Also check the spokes on your front wheel, so go around just squeezing them together. They shouldn't move much at all, you know, no more than a mil of flex really. If they are moving, it probably means that you've whacked that front wheel and maybe put a bit of a flat spot on that rim, so you definitely want to look at fixing that, or at least putting a bit more tension on that spoke. Going from there up to the headset, just grab your front brake, give that bike a rock back and forth. There shouldn't be any movement in there. Also hold that bearing underneath the stem. Shouldn't be any movement in there. From there, working down to the cranks, so grab your crank arm, give that a wobble. There shouldn't be any movement there. That's going to tell you if your crank's tight, but also the bottom bracket condition. If it's getting a little bit worn, there might be a bit of movement in there. By sight, check that your pedals are nice and tight up to the crank. If they do come loose, they can write off your cranks. It'll rip all the threads out of there, so it's worth paying a bit of attention to that. Up to your seat. Give it a wobble. I've got a dropper post. There is a little bit of play in there, but you know, you can check these bolts. There shouldn't be any movement on a normal fixed seat post. Whilst you're there, rear suspension, give it a bit of a push, make sure it's working nicely. Pick it up, pick your seat up. Shouldn't be any movement in there either. That'll tell you if your bearings maybe are on the way out or the bushes of the shock as well. To finish off, down to the rear wheel, similar to the front. You know, I've got a, what they call a maxle holding this in. Check that's nice and tight. Rear tyre pressure again, nice and firm, maybe slightly harder than the front. Check spokes again, go around there. The rear wheel does take a lot of the battering, so they're worth checking, you know, pretty regularly. Make sure you haven't hit that wheel and damaged it. Looking at the rear mech, just quickly by sight, make sure it's nice and square. You haven't bent this hanger, and also just, again, by sight, check that that is nice and tight. We touched briefly on suspension there. If you want to go into more detail, check out our how-to suspension setup video up here. Also, our bike's ready to roll, so you want to check out our how-to videos down here for riding tips. Don't forget, you can always click on me to subscribe to GMBN.